Morning everyone, this is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and I guess today I want to talk about whether or not it is too late to start prepping. There are those that feel that if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the world, that you're already too late. And there are those that are still unwilling to recognize that things are deteriorating, but it's become fairly common knowledge that anyone that goes to the store to buy anything is paying higher prices for it. Anyone that puts gas in their car is paying higher prices for it. Anyone that will have to heat their homes this winter to stay warm are going to be paying higher prices for it. So, is it too late to start prepping for price increases? Well, it was too late to take advantage of and buy things before these price increases, but we don't know where the prices are going to increase to next year. And we know that there are difficulties with farmers are having problems with fertilizer shortages and the cost of machinery and the cost of fuel to run the machines and cost of grain to the cost of feed for their animals. All of those are going up, so it just stands to reason that the cost of your food next year is going to go up as well. They're doing very little to eliminate those costs or bring them down. I have seen nothing that gives me reason to hope that gas prices are going to go down. They're increasing again. I see no reason to believe that food shortages are not going to continue. If it isn't one thing, it's another. And that's probably going to be the trend for the next year or two until things somewhat stabilize or they determine that something has to be done. And that could take a while. So, what do you do in the meantime? Well, I'll tell you, 2 years ago, the first thing that I did was go out and buy a whole bunch of beans and rice, and I'll admit that beans were never part of my diet, but they do provide protein. And if you can't afford meat, it is a substitute in many countries. And I've never been a big meat eater either. I always have a very small portion of meat myself, so not a huge savings for me to eat less meat because I don't eat very much to begin with. I'm certainly not a vegetarian, and I have no desire to be vegetarian, but the quantity of meat that I eat is not substantial by any stretch of the imagination, no matter what form it takes, whether it's chicken or beef or pork or rabbit or whatever meat is available. I've eaten goat meat, and it's quite nice. Don't much care for lamb. Mark loves lamb chops, but I don't much care for lamb. But of course the staples are pork, beef, and chicken, obviously. They're the staples for many people's diet. And yes, you can stretch ground meat, whether it's ground pork or ground beef, a little bit further than you can the solid pieces. So chicken itself is very pricey here. So not too much I can do to save money on chicken, except that I can continue to buy the carcasses that I have bought. I'm going to go and check and see if they're still available. One never knows whether those things are disappear or whether they're going to continue to offer them, and if the prices have gone up. I used to pay $2 for chicken carcasses, and either they were fairly large and you'd only get 2 or 3, or they were smaller ones and you'd get 4 in a pack, but it was always a similar weight of chicken carcasses. And I have learned to just boil them until I could pull the meat off, and then continue to boil the bones until I could make stock, and add, of course, my onions and celery in that to make a nice chicken stock. And I did can up a good supply of that in the fall, and but it's coming to the season where if Mark starts feeling like he's got a cold coming on, he'll live off chicken stock. So best medicine for him. But certainly the pieces of meat that I pull off the bone can be used to make a soup. Now, is it too late to start putting food away? It's never too late. What I paid for the beans and rice a couple of years ago is perhaps it's even doubled now, and it may double again by next year. So there's no harm in going out and spending that extra $10, $20 and getting a little bit more and just putting it aside. I highly recommend that. It's not a fear issue. I don't like to bring fear into it, and I don't like to bring panic into it. I believe it's just common sense that if you know that prices are going to be increased down the road, that you buy a little bit more now. And what I'm hearing, even locally here, is that the food banks are just seeing huge amounts of increase in population that is attending food banks because it can't afford to buy the foods, and many people are just shopping the sales. And I have always shopped the sales, well, at least the last few years when I had the time and ability to focus on that, when I wasn't overly pushed into focusing my attention on other things. So yes, when I've had the opportunity to focus on what's on sale, I'd buy what's on sale. If I can. You can't always. But shopping the sales is always a good idea. Now in Canada, we don't have coupon buying. I have seen extreme coupon buying shows where people go in with coupons and come away with hundreds of dollars worth of groceries and pay next to nothing for it. That doesn't happen here. We don't have that. You might get 20 cents off on a particular food item, but that is it. And coupons just don't. You have to pay the balance of the money for that item. And it's usually only one coupon per item and only a very limited quantity of coupons per sale, per transaction. So that's something that isn't available to us here in Canada. But there are sales every week, and there are price matches. I mean, there are companies that do that. And of course, the other issue is I don't have the space to store extra supplies. And you'd be amazed where you can find cubby holes to put things in if you want to. Of course, they have to be properly packaged, whether in buckets or in Mylar bags or in vacuum seal bags or in jars. Whatever you do, yes, if you want to put things away in little cubby holes and little areas in your home, yes, it could be a little bit difficult to determine what you have where, but after a while you get to know, okay, well, this stock is here and that stock is there. Now with my jars of tomatoes, because I have so many of them, they're all put in one spot and I know where they are. So other things where I only can, say, a dozen jars of something or less than that, they're in a more prominent position where I can search through and find them. So there are means and ways, and even bags of salt and sugar and flour. Yes, it would be nice if I had a pantry where I could put everything. It would be. I don't have that. So you make do, and you learn to make do. It is better that than not putting food away and paying double again next year. So, how long do some foods last? You can usually tell if food has gone bad. You know, I hear that with flour, there are people that will tell you that if it's packaged properly, it will last 10 years. I don't know if it'll last 10 years. There are others that will tell you that it goes rancid within a few months and therefore should not be kept that long. So you have to try what you believe is best. There are those that will can just about anything. I'm not a fan of canning butter, so I don't. I freeze it, and it lasts. Doesn't take up an awful lot of space in the freezer, and it lasts a good amount of time. And the last time I was out shopping, I did pick up a few more pounds of butter, and considering that I used to buy butter on sale for $3 a pound, and now it is $5 a pound, I do pick it up when I can. And I recognize and I have heard that there will be a butter shortage. And of course, if there's going to be a butter shortage, there's going to be a milk shortage, and there'll be other dairy products. Cheese is probably going to go through the roof. Anything that is made with dairy products, if there is a butter shortage, there will be other shortages as well. So, fortunately, I don't use a lot of milk, but I do use cream in my coffee, and a little bit of milk here and there. Others may have small children. You still have to have milk in-house for your children. And I would certainly not deprive my children of milk. And I won't deprive Mark of his butter. He really enjoys butter. I could probably live without it. I wasn't really raised on butter, but I could probably do without. And I've also noticed that the bottles of 1 liter of virgin olive oil that I used to buy for $5 on sale are now $10. So that's a double. And so if I could find olive oil on sale, say for $6, I will pick up a few bottles of those as well. So is it too late? It's never too late. If you don't know how to can, I mean, I buy my beans dry, and I can put away dry beans for, I would suspect, properly packaged for years. It's not hard to cook dry beans. They just need to be soaked overnight and cooked on the stove for a couple of hours, which is a pain for a lot of people. Or you can use an Instant Pot, and those will cook up your beans fairly quickly. An Instant Pot is basically just a pressure cooker, but it is probably a more modern means of using one, and probably a little safer for most people that are uncomfortable using pressure cookers. So they've become very popular. Eventually I did buy one as well, just a little cheapy model, but I find other than for cooking beans, I don't use it that much. And most of my beans I just can up so that they are ready to eat when I open the jar anyway. So, and I do can them from dry. I do recommend that you put the fear aside and you just have a concerted effort of putting food away as much or as little as you're able to. No pressure. Just do the best you can. Every little bit helps. Okay. Are things going to get better? Yes, eventually they will. Eventually things will turn around. We just don't know when that's going to, when that point is going to be. And it isn't always bad for that one person all the time. Yeah, we all go through our trials. We all have things we have to face. We all have difficulties, and we all have good times. It's never always poverty or always wealth or always sickness and always, you know, there is a cycle that it isn't always winter. Spring does come. So, yes, right now we are, in a sense, preparing for winter. We're preparing for dark times that we know are ahead. But that doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. It may feel that way, and especially when you're up north, if you're talking about literal winters, yes. It feels like it never goes away, and starts to get... I think if it weren't for Christmas being in December and everyone trying to see family and stay cheerful over Christmas, and once that season is over, then winter really sets in, even though it does get cold before then. And it just seems to last until May. So January, February, March, April, May, you're talking almost half the year of cold. So it does seem to last forever here. But it does, spring does eventually come, and it is glorious when it does. So prepare for your winter. It is coming. It's coming for all of us. But spring will come as well. Okay?